Yellowstone, 3,000 square miles of wilderness, geysers, hot springs, forests that stretch to the horizon. 2 million people visit every year. Most of them see the same thing: the beauty, the wildlife, the postcard views. But the rangers who work there, the ones who patrol the backcountry, who take the night shifts, who stay long after the tourists leave, they see something else. They don't talk about it much. Every one of them adjusted their behavior afterward. Tonight, 5 of them do. My first night shift, I understood why no one wanted it. This story comes from a woman named Jessica, 29 years old. She joined the Park Service straight out of college. Yellowstone was her first posting. June 2021. Jessica had been at the park for 3 weeks, training, day shifts, learning the protocols. Then she got her first night assignment, a solo patrol, 8 hours. One of the remote sections near the southern boundary, the kind of area most visitors never see. Her supervisor gave her the rundown: check the trailheads, log any activity, radio in every 2 hours. "It's quiet out there," he said. "You'll be fine." Jessica drove out at sunset, parked at the designated station, started her rounds. The first few hours were uneventful: empty trails, empty parking lots, the occasional elk in the headlights. Around 1 a.m. she stopped at a pullout to stretch her legs. That's when she noticed the silence. Not just quiet, silent. No wind, no insects, no animals. Jessica had grown up in rural Montana. She knew what a forest sounded like at night. This wasn't that. This was absence. She stood by her truck, listening. The silence pressed against her ears, heavy, unnatural. She felt watched, not threatened, not in danger, just observed. Like something in the darkness was aware she was there. Jessica got back in her truck, sat there for a moment. She radioed in. Everything normal. Continued her patrol. The feeling followed her for the rest of the shift. Every time she stopped, the same silence, the same pressure, the same sense of being seen. By dawn, it was gone. The birds came back. The wind picked up. Yellowstone sounded like Yellowstone again. Jessica finished her shift, drove back to the station. She told me, "I asked the other rangers about it later, the silence, the feeling. They just nodded, didn't explain, didn't seem surprised." She paused. One of them said, "You get used to it, or you request a transfer." Jessica stayed at Yellowstone for 2 more seasons. She never got used to it. There's a meadow I stopped going to. I can't tell you why. This story comes from a man named Robert, 54 years old, 22 years with the Park Service, 15 of them at Yellowstone. Robert knew the park better than most. Every trail, every shortcut, every spot that tourists never found. But there was one place he avoided. A meadow. About 4 miles off the main road. Accessible only by a hiking trail that most visitors didn't know about. For his first 10 years at the park, Robert passed through that meadow regularly. Nothing unusual. Just another beautiful spot in a park full of them. Then something changed. He couldn't pinpoint when it started. Maybe 2015. Maybe earlier. The meadow began to feel wrong. Not dangerous, not threatening, just wrong. Like a room where the furniture has been moved slightly. Everything looks the same, but something is off. Robert told me. The first time I noticed it, I thought I was tired. Long shift, not enough sleep, I hiked through and didn't think about it. But the feeling came back. Every time. It got worse over the years. Every time I went through that meadow, I felt like I was interrupting something. Like I'd walked into a conversation that stopped when I arrived. He started taking longer routes to avoid it. Added miles to his patrols. His colleagues noticed. They asked why I was taking the long way. I didn't have an answer. I just said I preferred the other trail. Robert never saw anything in that meadow. Never heard anything. Never had a concrete experience he could point to. Just the feeling. Persistent. Unexplainable. He retired last year. I asked him if he ever went back to the meadow. Just to see. He shook his head. Some places don't want visitors. I don't need to understand why. I just need to listen. He looked out the window. 22 years in that park. That meadow is the only place I never figured out, and I stopped trying. I heard my name on the radio. I never told anyone my name. This story comes from a man named Marcus, 36 years old, 8 years at Yellowstone, left in 2022. Marcus worked the night shifts that no one wanted, the remote stations, the backcountry posts, the assignments that kept you alone for 12 hours at a time. He didn't mind, said he preferred the solitude. September 2021. Marcus was stationed at a small outpost near the eastern boundary, a one-room cabin with a radio, a cot, and a propane heater. His job was simple: monitor the radio, log any activity, report anything unusual. Most nights, nothing happened. Static, silence, the occasional check-in from dispatch. But that night was different. Around 2 a.m. the radio crackled. A voice. Faint, distorted by static. Marcus, just his name, nothing else. Marcus sat up, grabbed the radio. "This is Station 7. Who's calling?" Silence. He waited. 30 seconds. A minute. "Dispatch, this is Station 7. Did someone just try to reach me?" The dispatcher's voice came back, clear, confused. "Negative, Station 7. No transmissions in the last hour. You're the only one on this channel." Marcus set down the radio, told himself it was interference, a crossed signal, something bouncing off the atmosphere. But here's the thing he couldn't explain. We never used first names on the radio. Not in that area. It was protocol. Call signs only. Station numbers. Last names if necessary. No one at Yellowstone called him Marcus on the radio. Ever. He sat there in the dark, staring at the radio. 10 minutes later, it happened again. "Marcus." Same voice, same tone. Clearer this time. He picked up the radio. His hand was shaking. "Who is this? Identify yourself." Silence. Then the voice again. "Marcus." Same word, same inflection, same pause between syllables, like it was repeating it exactly. Marcus radioed dispatch, asked if anyone else was transmitting, asked if there were other units in the area. The answer was the same. He was alone. No one else on the channel. No one within 20 miles. He didn't sleep that night. Sat in the corner of the cabin with the radio off, watching the door. Nothing else happened. In the morning, he hiked out, filed his report, requested a transfer to day shifts. His supervisor didn't ask questions, just approved it. Marcus told me, "I finished the season, did my job, collected my pay." He paused. "But I never answered the radio after dark again." I asked him if he ever figured out what it was, who it was. He shook his head. "I don't want to know. Some things you're better off not understanding." He still works in parks. Different state now. Different job. He doesn't do night shifts anymore. I'm not a ranger. I just fix things. But I saw how the animals acted. This story comes from a man named Daniel, 48 years old, maintenance crew at Yellowstone for 6 years, left in 2020. Daniel wasn't trained in wildlife, wasn't a scientist. He fixed generators, repaired fences, maintained the infrastructure that kept the park running. But he spent enough time in the backcountry to notice things. The animals at Yellowstone, they're used to people. Bison, elk, bears. They've seen tourists their whole lives. They're not scared of us. They just coexist. But sometimes, Daniel noticed, they acted different. There were days when everything felt normal, and there were days when every animal in an area would be gone, just gone. He couldn't predict it, couldn't explain it, but he learned to recognize it. You'd drive into a section of the park that's usually full of wildlife, and it would be empty, dead quiet, like everything had left in a hurry. The other maintenance workers noticed it too. They had a name for it. We called them hollow days, days when the park felt hollow, like something had emptied it out. Daniel told me about one day in particular, August 2019. He was repairing a fence near a meadow in the northern section. Routine job. Should have taken a few hours. He got there at noon, sunny day, perfect weather, no animals, not one, no birds, no insects, no movement anywhere. Daniel worked for about an hour. The silence bothered him, but he pushed through. Then he noticed the elk, about 30 of them, standing at the tree line on the far side of the meadow. All facing the same direction, not grazing, not moving, just standing there, watching something he couldn't see. Daniel stopped working, watched them. For 20 minutes, the elk didn't move, didn't make a sound, just stood there staring into the trees, long enough that he checked his watch twice. Then, all at once, they turned and walked away. Calm, deliberate, like they'd been dismissed. Daniel packed up his tools, left the fence half finished, drove back to the station. He told his supervisor the fence needed different materials, came back 2 days later to finish it. The elk were gone, the birds were back. The meadow sounded normal. He told me, I don't know what they were looking at, I don't know what they were waiting for, but 30 elk don't stand still for 20 minutes for no reason. He shrugged. I'm not saying it was anything. Animals are weird. Nature is weird. But I learned to pay attention when the wildlife acted strange. If they didn't want to be somewhere, I didn't want to be there either. Daniel left Yellowstone in 2020, took a job at a state park closer to home. He says it's quieter there, quieter in a normal way. Ty gave 31 years to that park. I don't go back. This story comes from a man named William, 67 years old, retired Park Service, spent most of his career at Yellowstone. William saw everything: forest fires, bear attacks, rescues, recoveries, the best and worst of what a national park can offer. He retired in 2018, lives in a small town about 2 hours from the park entrance, close enough to visit. He doesn't. William told me, people ask me all the time, you must miss it, you must go back to visit. And I tell them the same thing. I gave that park 31 years. It has enough of me. I asked him what he meant. He was quiet for a long time. Yellowstone takes things from you. Not in a bad way necessarily, but it takes your time, your energy, your certainty about how the world works. He looked at his hands. After 31 years, I didn't have much certainty left. I'd seen too much, heard too much, learned to accept that some things don't have explanations. William wouldn't share specific stories, said he'd made peace with what he experienced and didn't want to dig it back up. But he said one thing that stayed with me. The park is alive. Not in a metaphorical way. Alive. It has moods. It has preferences. Some days it welcomes you. Some days it tolerates you. And some days, he paused, some days it wants you to leave, and you learn to listen. I asked him if the park ever scared him. He thought about it. Scared isn't the right word. I was never scared of Yellowstone. I was respectful, the way you're respectful of the ocean or a thunderstorm. Something bigger than you that doesn't care if you live or die. He stood up. Our conversation was ending. I don't go back because I don't need to. 31 years was enough. The park and I, we understand each other now. He walked me to the door. It's a beautiful place, truly. Everyone should see it. He paused. But don't stay too long. Don't get too comfortable. And if it ever feels like you should leave. He looked at me. Listen,